In this video, we are going to discuss the first chapter, Law and its Operation, from Feeling is the Secret, by Neville Goddard, published in 1944. This is the first of four-part explainer series of the book, so you might want to stay tuned. Let's begin. Everything in the universe, including ourselves, is an embodiment of man's conditioned awareness. Everything in existence has its origin and existence in the realm of consciousness. Therefore, if we want to know the key to creation, we must look to the realm of consciousness. To achieve your goals in life, you need to learn the law of consciousness and the process for putting it into action. With an understanding of this law, you may create and sustain a utopia. Reality consists entirely of one's own consciousness. This is not a metaphor. This reality can be conceptualized as a stream with two branches representing the conscious and unconscious mind. If you want to use the law of consciousness effectively, you need to have a firm grasp on how the conscious mind interacts with the unconscious. The conscious mind is self-referential and choosy, while the unconscious is agnostic and unbiased. The conscious mind deals in the area of effect, whereas the unconscious mind deals in the realm of cause. These sex-specific halves make up the male and female halves of the mind. Male represents the conscious mind, whereas female represents the unconscious. The mind's conscious sphere comes up with concepts and imparts them to the mind's unconscious sphere, which then shapes and articulates them. All things emerge from consciousness according to this law, and without this sequence, nothing formed is made. The subconscious is influenced by the conscious, and it then acts on all of those impressions. Instead of coming up with new concepts, the subconscious simply accepts what the conscious mind has already decided to be true and then, in some mysterious way, gives those beliefs an objective form. Therefore, man has authority over creation because of his ability to imagine and feel and his independence in choosing which concept to entertain. Managing your thoughts and emotions is the key to taming your subconscious. The subconscious is the womb of creativity, where the machinery of creation lies dormant. The unconscious mind is beyond the scope of logic and cannot be explained by induction. It takes an emotion at its value as an objective fact and proceeds to convey it. It all starts with an idea, then develops into an emotion, and finally culminates in the will to do something about it. The power of emotion to imprint ideas on the mind. No notion, no matter how beautiful or horrible, can be etched into the mind unless it is felt, and once felt, it must be articulated. The only way for a concept to reach the unconscious mind is through the emotions. As a result, an individual who is unable to regulate his emotions may readily implant negative mental states into his unconscious mind. When we talk about feeling in charge, we don't mean that we have to stifle our emotions, but rather that we may train ourselves to only consider the kinds of thoughts and emotions that will bring us joy. Gaining mastery of your emotions is crucial if you want to live a successful and fulfilling life. Never give in to a negative emotion or condone wrongdoing in any way, shape, or form. Dismiss any temptation to wallow in self or other criticism. Doing so would serve to reinforce these restrictions in the mind. Do not take it personally if someone else suffers the same treatment you would not accept. This, in its whole, is the rule for living a rich and satisfying existence. The rest is just commentary. Every emotion leaves a mark on the mind and, unless it is overpowered by a stronger emotion of the opposite sort, must be communicated. When two emotions compete for expression, the stronger one wins. A more powerful conviction than, I shall be well, is, I am healthy. Feeling I shall be is admitting I am not, and I am more powerful than I am not. What you believe you are always takes precedence over what you believe you would like to be. Hence, the wish must be experienced as a state that is rather than in one that is not in order to come true. Sensation comes first and serves as the bedrock upon which all other manifestations are built. Keep an eye on how you're feeling, because that mood has a direct impact on your external reality. Your body serves as a filter for your emotions, and it shows clear signs of the feelings you've been experiencing. All sickness can be traced back to emotional problems, and more specifically to feelings that have been repressed. Feeling strongly about an injustice but not saying anything about it can lead to physical and mental illness. Avoid dwelling on feelings of remorse or defeat. Being dissatisfied with progress or drifting away from one's goal is both frustrating and unhealthy. Concentrate your emotions entirely on the end goal. All seeming miracles are accomplished in the same way, by feeling the actuality of the state sought, and then living and acting on that belief. A shift in emotion underlies all linguistic shifts. Altering one's emotional state can alter one's life course. In the realm of the unconscious, all creativity takes place. Your goal should be to train yourself to exercise conscious control over your thoughts and emotions rather than having them control you. Nothing that happens to you is the work of chance or accident, and neither is your good or bad luck written in stone by some higher power. The state of your environment is set by your unconscious interpretations. The subconscious is unbiased and does not discriminate based on external factors. Acts chapter 10 verse 34, Romans chapter 2 verse 11. The subconscious doesn't care if your emotions are genuine or not. Whatever you believe to be true, it will always take it at face value. An emotion is the unconscious agreement with a statement as true. As a result of this feature of the subconscious, no feat is beyond the capabilities of man. Whatever the conscious mind can imagine and accept as true, the unconscious mind must also objectify. When you experience a shift in your emotional state, you also experience a shift in the pattern from which your world is fashioned. That which is engraved upon the subconscious is always expressed. As soon as it takes in a new impression, it starts plotting out how to communicate itself. It takes on board the emotion you convey to it as something real and true within itself, and then goes about creating in the objective world an exact replica of that emotion. The subconscious does not have the power to change conventional wisdom. No matter how helpful they may be, it paints a clearer picture. To convince your unconscious mind that you're already in your desired condition, you must put yourself in that position emotionally. Focus solely on the goal at hand as you define it. You are not to take into account the way of expression or the problems involved. Thinking about a state emotionally strengthens its association in one's mind. Since the subconscious is not selective, it will comply with your desire to create challenges and hurdles if you focus on them. The unconscious mind is the creative source. It absorbs the concept whole via man's emotional responses. As a rule, it does not alter the received notion but rather provides its shape. As a result, the subconscious completely reimagines the concept in the form of the associated emotion. By convincing oneself that a situation is hopeless or impossible, one is effectively programming oneself to fail. In spite of the subconscious's unwavering devotion to serving man, we must not mistake the nature of their relationship with one another for that of a slave and master, as was traditionally thought. The ancient prophets referred to it as man's servant and enslaved worker. Using the analogy of a woman, St. Paul wrote, "The woman should be subordinate to man in everything, Ephesians chapter 5 verse 24. See also 1 Corinthians chapter 14 verse 34, Ephesians chapter 5 verse 22, Colossians chapter 3 verse 18, and 1 Peter chapter 3 verse 1. The subconscious is obedient to man and helps him give expression to his emotions. The subconscious, on the other hand, has a strong aversion to being forced to do anything and prefers to be convinced rather than told what to do, making it more like the cherished spouse than the obedient servant. While Ephesians 5:23's statement that the husband is head of the wife may not apply to the connection between men and women on earth, it does describe the dynamic between the conscious and subconscious minds, sometimes referred to as the male and female halves of the human psyche. When Paul said, "This is a vast secret," 5:32. "He that loveth his wife loveth himself," 5:28. "And they two shall be one flesh," 5:31. What he meant was that the mystery he was referring to was the mystery of consciousness itself. Although there is only one whole consciousness, it appears to be split in two for the sake of creation. Truthfully, the conscious, objective, or male element serves as the head and rules over the more vulnerable and subjective, feminine, side. But this leadership is not like that of a tyrant. Rather, it is more like that of a romantic partner. Assuming the emotion you'd have if you already have your goal motivates your mind to create a likeness of that emotion. It is only when you emotionally invest in the validity of your wishes that they are accepted on a subconscious level, and it is only when they are accepted on a subconscious level that they are ever articulated. It's less challenging to believe that your mood is the result of external factors than it is to accept that your emotional state is reflected in the environment around you. The eternal truth, however, is that appearances are always indicative of character. As within, so without. Correspondence is the second of Hermes Trismegistus's 7 principles, as above, so below. As below, so above. As within, so without. As without, so within. Nothing comes to a man unless it is a gift from God. In addition to, the kingdom of heaven is within you, Luke chapter 17 verse 21, which is referenced in John chapter 3 verse 27. Nothing can be said to originate externally. Everything is, instead, a product of one's own internal processes, namely, the subconscious. You can only see what you allow yourself to perceive, which is the contents of your mind. Everything in this world is a manifestation of your own mind. Conscious thoughts have an effect on the world outside of one's awareness. When one's first impression shifts, one's facial expression follows suit. Considering that whatever you give credence to in your emotions is what your subconscious will accept as true, you have control over the creative process through your emotional state. All that separates you from your goals is a stubborn refusal to accept that you already are them. You will never find what you desire if you keep looking for it on the outside. You will only find what you already are. To sum up, you are only able to show and to have what it is that you are aware of. Matthew chapter 13 verse 12, 25-29, Mark chapter 4 verse 25, Luke chapter 8 verse 18, 19:26 all say, "To him that hath it is given." If you can ignore sensory data and take on the emotion of a wish coming true, you can make your dreams come true. Your greatest accomplishment is learning to master your own emotions and thoughts. Sleep and prayer can help you achieve your goals until you develop perfect self-control and can direct your emotions as you like. These are the two ways one can enter one's inner world of thought.